welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim, I'm joined by Donald. How are you?
I am very much feeling the effects of the relatively dried up release season. We've got some games coming out, but at the same time though, it's not quite the Christmas or Christmas 2 seasons that we've experienced.
It's a good opportunity to go back and play Witcher 2 before Witcher 3 comes out.
Yeah, you keep on doing that.
It's also good to catch up on old mods and other games in your Steam library.
To work through that pile of shame, or even just to try out an indie game or two, maybe.
Yeah,
there are some good ones coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ori and the Blind Forest was something that I really enjoyed recently. So
that's spectacular, isn't that? That's already worthy of a Game of the Half a Year award or something like that.
Yeah, it certainly is.
But it's been busy in other aspects as well. Tim, you've been very interested in the international, haven't you?
Yes, of course. The invites for the International 5 has just come out. Yeah. Valve's Dota 2 tournament, and some very interesting inclusions, some heavy influence from Chinese regions and EU regions, with a bit of weakness in the North American and Southeast Asian regions. So we'll see what happens. My team Navi is in the qualifiers, so
not quite invited.
Not quite invited, but hopefully they can make a lower bracket run. And
previous winners, Alliance, not invited. Last year's winners, Newbie, invited.
Were invited, but they have been struggling a bit this year. So everyone was a bit iffy on whether they'd be invited or not, but they are still 3 of the 5 that won the international last year. So it would have been rude to not invite the previous champions.
Even if it is, say, a shadow of its former self. How many of the original members from that winning team are still?
3 of the 5, yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's still worth, but let's hope they improve themselves and they can really put on a good show when the International 5 does come around.
And that's been all the Dota talk this week.
But we've got some non-related Dota things this episode as well. But we've got some reviews as well.
Yes, we've got Wolfenstein The Old Blood, the latest standalone addition to Wolfenstein The New Order. We'll find out later this episode whether it's any good or not.
Yes, and first up we have Tokyo Twilight Ghost Hunters.
Well, in what seems to be a sudden resurgence for some unknown reason, the visual novel has become probably one of the fastest growing genres of the last kind of couple of years. I guess maybe it's the success of the Vita and games like Ding Dong Rumpus and things like that have really propelled it forward. But there's even more games coming on the scene now that would still be considered visual novels.
Now, in Japan, visual novels have always been a thing, but in this case, we've got a lot of obscure titles coming out. Tokyo Twilight Ghost Hunters, for example, for the PlayStation Vita and the PlayStation 3.
So, is it just another standard visual novel, or is there kind of something that separates it from the usual solve crimes kind of thing?
So, with this in particular, you're not exactly solving crimes, but you are taking the form of a school student visual novel, who would have thought. And you come across a group named as the Gatekeepers, Inc. So they're concerned with stuff like paranormal activity, things like that. And they release magazines based on all the supernatural things happening in Japan. On the down low, they are ghost hunters.
Right.
They advertise themselves very secretly to different places like schools, people in apartments. They go around.
So it's kind of like the less lame version of that stupid reality show where they hunt ghosts.
Oh, Japanese Ghostbusters.
Well, yeah, okay, all that, yeah. Ghostbusters does it. That's
so let's look at it from this perspective. It covers some pretty crazy themes. You actually do eradicate ghosts from different environments. So, for example, you're eradicating a ghost from an apartment of a male whose fiance just died, and she goes around attacking other women to protect him.
Right.
Really interesting stuff.
So it follows obviously with the area and how the circumstances of death and
so
stuff.
Not only are the visual novel aspect is there, but it breaks up by some turn-based combat. So it is a little bit uncoordinated and goofy at times. It doesn't hit the right notes. But the foundations are there, and they're fantastic. There's some things that it does differently that other visual novels don't do, and it does cross some boundaries that other games don't. And I like that. It's fantastic. It's ambitious, and it's definitely worth a try.
Now I'm looking today at Must Deliver, an iPad game by Cherry Rocket Games. That's how much attention I paid to this game, because let me say on the interesting premise. It's a zombie post-apocalyptic game. It's an endless runner. It's free. There's microtransaction. So basically it's one of those kind of games. However, I genuinely had fun with it in the sense that it was better than staring at a wall simply because something was happening. So you run your little guy along this pathway through different parts of this zombified world, avoiding zombies as each little section comes along. And basically every time you make it to a checkpoint and deliver some of the virus, hence must deliver, you get rewarded with more and more coins, which you then spend on characters. You know how this goes. And basically, it is the quintessential free-to-play game. You can watch ads to unlock coins, you can buy coins, and if you want some of those extra characters, those zany extra characters, and you want to specifically pick one, $129. $129 for a character that doesn't even do anything. Anyway, whatever. You know what? It's not for me, it's for the whales. They're trying to get people into play it. Must deliver. Is it fun? I guess in the same way that not having tuberculosis is. Should you buy it? Well, you don't really buy it, do you? Well, you shouldn't. If you're ever considering putting money into a freemium game, you should go out and do something useful like greyhound racing or something. You might actually get your money back from that. But as far as free-to-play games go, the quintessential free-to-play game, up to you from there.
Why Brad Pitt and Ben Affleck are the same person. That does it for news this week, and that is everything that's happened in the world. I'm sorry. Breaking news, people. A video game was released in 2015. Let's go to the New Game Plus review team for their take on this surprise new release.
Battlefield, 7 out of 10.
I know we're in the middle of a dry season, but it does honestly feel like the 2015 gaming release season is drying up. It's not helped by the fact that so many games have been pushed into 2016, like The Legend of Zelda on Wii U, Uncharted 4, even Homefront The Revolution. Although, I think the fact that the Homefront sequel still exists is probably exciting enough news for Homefront fans. I believe both of them are furiously messaging each other as we speak. But each of these delays just reinforces the fact that AAA titles take a lot of time and a lot of effort to produce. Gabe Newell doesn't just close his eyes, make a wish, and breathe out into the world a Half-Life 3. Although he does cry and weep out Dota 2 hats, that's a true medical fact. But it takes a team of engineers, artists, programmers, and all sorts of other people who are the best in their craft to make a game. I could spend many segments talking about this, but for the moment I'll just point you to one indicator of this fact. Take a look at the credits for any major modern title. If you've ever played through a recent Ubisoft game, well, you wouldn't be watching me since you'll still be in day 97 of the Assassin's Creed Unity credits roll. Honestly, it's like looking at a global census for everyone ever. Now, what are the costs though for these big AAA titles? Normally publishers are very secretive about this information, but that's not going to stop this intrepid reporter from Googling any leaks that have gone out. Last generation game... Last generation games like say Gears of War would have cost about US $10 million. That would barely fund an E3 trailer today. For instance, Watch Dogs allegedly cost $65 million US to develop. Destiny reportedly $140 million US. Even Call of Duty Elite, that mobile app which I've already forgotten the name of, cost apparently $50 million to develop according to a former employee's LinkedIn account. But all this pales in comparison to Grand Theft Auto 5, which according to one report cost $265 million US to make. Forget about San Andreas. With that kind of money, you could almost buy the Federated States of Micronesia. Or you could buy 2% of Ron Perlman. I'm sorry, that's not Ron Perlman the actor, but billionaire investor Ronald Perlman. Although for that sort of money, you'd probably just get the tip. Come on, that joke wasn't that bad, was it? I'll show you. Oh, fine. Now, take all this information with enough grains of salt to set up your own fighting game tournament, but it very much puts into light how expensive it is to make even a big budget game. Hell, this is even spread to the indie circle. Let me tell you of one example that not only portrays how difficult and how expensive it is to make a game even at the indie circuit, but also how little we know of this. Lab Zero Games, developers of the fighting game Skullgirls, started a crowdfunding campaign asking for $150,000 to add one character to its roster. Even though the developers were transparent with the budget and the process, people for some reason were still outraged, actually outraged at the cost. All sorts of armchair developers went to the usual forums with the usual cries of, oh, I could make that game for a sixpence and a vigorous mince. And you had others essentially finding the non-existent conspiracy theory here of saying that these people are being scammed, they just need to try to find the truth. Presumably, all these people had just come from an hour-long session of shouting at their local fast food employee because the lettuce in their burger wasn't fresh. This attitude is disingenuous to these developers, especially the smaller ones, who are operating on a threadbare of a shoestring budget. Now, I'm not excusing games that are poorly managed, nor am I excusing bad games just because 5 artists worked on a single chair the entire project. And indeed, we should hope for the best for all these games, but the best requires a lot of time and a lot of money. So I'm sort of sympathetic when these big studios, who ultimately just want you to play their game, have to push their project back just because they want their game to be the best it can be and the best it can be for our modern tastes. Whether this model is sustainable though, and that is everything that's happened in the world ever.
Alright, Shani, so we've done a little bit of hardware recently.
Yep.
I have.
Yep.
Headphones, we've got the games unit.
Yep.
But I thought I'd bring you in to discuss the Venom arcade sticks. Yeah, well done.
Yep,
okay.
yep,
And we've
yep.
played it, you can see all
Yep,
the fingerprints.
fingerprints,
Yeah. So I guess, initial impressions, what do you reckon straight off the bat?
As a beginner, you'd probably really like this stick. I guess more as an advanced user, I don't know what I'm calling myself. There's a few issues that are like easily noticeable. Buttons are a little bit, I guess, cheap. Most of the parts in the stick are cheap.
Yeah, and so we should contextualize that.
Yeah.
So the buttons are a little bit spongy.
Yep.
Sticks a little bit kind of stiff, I guess,
Yep.
like a little bit unresponsive. However, as a beginner, you're not going to notice that.
No.
Like, I hate to tell you, you're not going to notice it. For the money that you pay for this,
No.
you're not going to notice that. It's when you start doing input errors, when you start really starting to do your B&Bs
Yep.
and stuff like that, you'll start to notice it. So as a beginner stick, it's great.
It's great, especially like as a PS4 and PS3.
Which was going to be my next point. So
Oh.
well done. You segued without me. But no, it does play on PS4 and PS3, which is a big advantage over a lot of its competitors. And I mean, like, we haven't even had the Mad Cats announced yet, I don't think.
Yeah, Horis are hard
Hori
to get.
V4, it's hard to get.
Yep.
And so, you know, this is locally accessible. So I guess that's the other bigger thing in its favor as well.
You don't have to mod it to get to 2 consoles. It's a lot easier.
None of the Mortal Kombat stuffing around with controls or
No.
anything like that. So, like, it definitely has a lot of advantages. And like we mentioned, the idea that once you start to become a little bit more advanced, you'll start to notice limitations. However,
It's easily moddable.
it is really easily moddable. You can unscrew the bottom pretty easily, chuck your new buttons in, you know, chuck an
Yeah.
Amazon order through, chuck your new buttons in, chuck your new sticks in,
Yep.
and you'll basically instantly notice the difference.
Even faceplates are actually easy to get at. So if
Yeah.
you want to, get your custom art in, bam, straight in,
Yeah.
unscrew,
Bam, good
bam.
segue.
Oh,
Yeah,
bam.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with bam coming up.
Yeah. But no, sorry.
The other good thing that I was going to say is that it's a good 2-player controller, so you
Yeah,
hand it
Shane
off.
gives, yeah, okay.
Hand it off to you because you don't play stick.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, yeah. But so I guess the big things to take away from it are easily accessible, great beginner stick.
Yep.
If you want to be a little bit more advanced later on, you can mod
Easily
it really
moddable.
easily. PS4, PS3.
Yeah.
Looks like we have visitors. Let's hope they come in peace.
How about a hug? I like you.
Well, put on your best surprised face because the announcement that we all knew was coming along.
Yes.
Star Wars in your Disney Infinity 3.0 edition.
And it's not only Star Wars, it's other Disney characters that have come in. Like, I don't think Baymax was in the last one.
No.
A couple of the new
Olaf was in there.
Yeah.
And they're going to introduce all the characters from the new Pixar movie in there as well. But
Yeah.
we're bearing the lead here because Star Wars.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to making a better Star Wars Battlefront than EA is going to make inside Disney Infinity. Look forward to it. There'll be AT&Ts that actually move, and there'll be space battles.
I'm noticing we've hit on a nerve here, haven't we?
Yes, we have. I'm very disappointed. But yeah, unfortunately, it is, again, one of the toys things that you
Yeah.
have to buy a lot of to get all those pieces for.
But it's Star
But
Wars here,
yeah.
and it is $1 billion merchandising machine. They're not going to have any problems in selling all those figurines.
Yes.
From the Clone Wars series, from the classic trilogy, and from the upcoming Force Unleashed movie as well.
And
Force Awakens.
Yes.
Thank goodness they're not going to touch Force Unleashed.
Yes, but I'm looking forward to it. It's something that
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up and try because I really do like what we'll be able to do in the sandbox mode with all the
Yeah.
Star Wars stuff. It's going to be a really good game.
And I'm going to pick it up because I have a problem and I can't stop collecting all these figurines. I can't. I need help. I honestly need help.
Now, Wolfenstein The New Order was one of the surprise hits of last year. I mean, everybody loves the Wolfenstein series, but I don't think anyone was expecting such a cliched game to be so much fun. Bethesda realized that perhaps it's a good idea for us then to release kind of a standalone, I don't want to say that it's DLC, well I guess it is, but it's a standalone game called Wolfenstein The Old Blood, and it's set in 1946, so before the events of the Wolfenstein The New Order. So it's basically you take the place of BJ Blazkowicz, you're infiltrating Castle Wolfenstein itself. And so it goes into a little bit more of the occulty stuff that we're used to from the series. There's a lot of talk of King Olaf and King Otto and stuff from like 1,000 years beforehand. So it really covers a lot more of that, what we're used to, running through castles, a little bit of the supernatural elements and a lot of the steampunky kind of stuff. But it's very much the same game. So you're running around, you can either shoot in a lot of places, like go in all guns blazing, dual wielding, going nuts, or you do the stealth where the knife instantly ragdolls people, which I still find hilarious. Someone's casually walking down the stairs and you throw a knife at them, then they just ragdoll and they just hit the ground, and it's great fun. But I guess that's probably going to come down to how much you're going to enjoy this game. It's not a full price title, which is the one thing in its favor. So it's not expected that it's as long as the campaign of Wolfenstein The New Order was, which went for ages. This you can probably wrap up in about 8 hours if you play through it pretty quickly, but there's lots of little nooks and crannies. There's more of the old school Wolfenstein maps, the dream sequences that were in The New Order. So a lot of the things that the last game did well, they've carried on into this one. The thing that you're either going to really enjoy or really not enjoy is the fact that it doesn't do a lot that's new. The only main new mechanic is the climbing mechanic. You can climb up certain walls that have like porous rock in them. So that's like the only new mechanic in any meaningful sense. Later on, some things change, but when it's all said and done, a lot of the gameplay stays the same. It does change a little bit later, but it is very much the same thing. So if you played Wolfenstein The New Order, really enjoyed it, thought it was fantastic, and you want a little bit more of that kind of thing, Wolfenstein The Old Blood's pretty good. However, as a standalone title, it's still a pretty good game. 8 hours of solid gameplay, a lot of the kind of love and attention that it had before. The cliches grate a little bit more. Like Wolfenstein The Order was great in spite of its cliches. This, they just grate a little bit more. But that said, as far as it goes, it's still a really, really interesting addition to the Wolfenstein franchise.
I wanted to play the Wolfenstein The New Order last time, but I cannot play that game on my PC. It just gives me some wicked car sickness.
Can't you put like the dot in the center of the screen? That's supposed to help.
It did not help. I actually took seasick medicine to try to play this game, but it did not do anything.
And it's a shame because it was a really good Wolfenstein game.
Yeah.
I loved The New Order.
As Jason said in the review, like for a dumb shooter, it was surprisingly great.
Yeah, and this one certainly looks like more of the same, and it's something that I really want to get into because that it brings back, well, expansion packs, really. We don't see a lot of it nowadays. It's more just little bits of DLC and
patches, just
and
big
map
balance
packs
patches,
and all that sort of stuff. But it's nice to have a good, big, standalone story that you can buy outright and just play for a good amount of hours.
It is incredibly nostalgic, isn't it?
Yeah, and one way to do nostalgia is certainly Wolfenstein.
Of course.
So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. But we've got non-shooter related things coming up. We have Battle Arena Melbourne coming up on the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of May. So definitely head down there at CQ in Melbourne where you have all the fighting games.
All the fighting games. Your Street Fighters, your Marvels, your Mortal Kombat X's, your Smash Brothers. I'm sure someone will set up a paper, scissors, rock tournament in the corner somewhere. You'll have all big names. You've got Perfect Legend, the Mortal Kombat 9 champion, coming down to take out old challengers in Mortal Kombat 10. We've got big names in the Smash community. We've got big names in the other fighting games as well. And you've got big names from New Game Plus too.
Yay!
We'll all be streaming the entire thing, so keep an eye out on our Facebook page for more details.
And also check out the Couch Warriors Facebook page because they'll be running a lot of stuff from there and you'll find a lot of info there. But I think we should wrap it up for this week.
Maybe we should.
Visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook at New Game Plus TV.
Follow Twitter and Instagram at New Game Plus TV.
And follow us on our YouTube and Twitch pages at New Game Plus TV.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Tim.
We'll see you guys next week. First up, we have Tokyo Twilight Ghost Hunters. Is that the name of the thing?
Yes. I was thinking,